Hello, and welcome to Appleton Engaged. I'm your host, Timber Smith, Special Assistant to the Mayor for Community, Culture, and Belonging. Appleton Engaged listeners, how are we doing? Appleton Engaged is a podcast that explores the many people, organizations, and resources that make our community a great place to live, work, and play. So whether you're a longtime resident or just getting to know Appleton, join us as we learn more about our community together. All right, Appleton Engaged listeners, how are we doing this week? It's another fabulous week here. It is podcast day, so we are really excited about the conversation that we're about to have with this amazing community resource. But the only thing that's different is I'm running solo. So I want to send a special shout out to my co-host, Andy Anam. Andy is a little tied up, but she should be back for the next episode. Andy, we miss you as always, but it doesn't mean that it's going to change how awesome this episode's going to be. It's going to be pretty fantastic. So this week's guest is Juliane Troicki, founder of the Illuminating Project. We'll be talking about the Illuminating Women's Project. Hey, Juliane, how are you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing really fantastic. You ready to jump in?
Sure.
Can you please tell us about yourself and your association with Appleton and the Fox Cities region?
All right. You will hear this after my first two words. I'm not originally from here. In fact, I'm from Berlin, Germany.
No, I couldn't tell.
Well, it's always the first thing someone asks me when I say hello. They say, "Where are you from?" So just to say, so I'm originally from Germany, but I've been in the United States for a long time. In fact, I probably have lived here longer than I ever lived in Germany, just by my age, pure math. But anyways, so we moved to Wisconsin from the East Coast for my husband's job originally and fell in love with the region right away. We're close to Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, which is not too far from here. But we have always made trips to Appleton ever since we moved here. We have 4 children, and so they love the Children's Museum, or used to. Now they're too old. We have come here a lot, enjoyed the coffee shops and stuff like that. Great, lots of cultural events and things that we have enjoyed. I've also been to the Indus dinner, which has been a highlight. My most recent connection to the community, and I feel like I've gotten personally to know the community really well, has been our most recent community engagement project, Illuminating Women, Fox Cities, which was exhibited at the Trout Museum of Art from January to May of this year, 2024. And it's been an amazing experience.
Well, you set us up perfectly because that is exactly what I am looking forward to speaking with you about today. So, as I would normally ask, can you please share a little something about your resource?
Yes. So the community engagement part of my organization, Illuminating Project, is called, one of them is called Illuminating Women. And it's a showcase. It's really more than an art show. That's why I don't really call it art shows. It's a community engagement experience where we feature, I collaborate with a photographer. For this one, it was Laura Schneider of Studio L Photography. And we photograph and interview and write about inspiring women from a community. So for this project, we featured 30 women from the Fox Cities area. And they were women from all walks of life, of all ages, ethnic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, lifestyles. So we try to have a very inclusive group. You know, the theme of belonging, very important to me as well, to show all kinds of people that everyone belongs and that everyone is valuable and everyone makes a contribution. And so we were telling, the idea was to tell this through women's stories. So you see in these installations, you see the women featured with a black and white photo, and then also a biography side by side. So it's like a open book sort of scenario. So you're standing in front of it and you're interacting with this woman. You're learning from her experiences, her insights, her struggles, her triumphs, the things she's accomplished, the things she has learned, and there's always a positive, inspiring takeaway.
I got an opportunity to see some of these amazing people that you chose. And my question is, First of all, it's fabulous.
Thank you.
Just fabulous. And also, the ladies that were chosen were so excited and beyond humbled by it, at least the ones that I personally know. How do you choose the who? How are people chosen for the honor?
Actually, that is a great story, and I am so proud of how that always happens, because it just speaks to the goodness of people and the passion and the interest and the collaboration and the cheering for others that I always want to encourage. So we started with a drought. We said, "Is there a woman that you would recommend?" And so we had a few touch points in the community. We said, "Is there someone you'd recommend?" So we start usually with a handful, less than 4 or 5, just very few, 1 or 2. And then we always ask these women, who do you find inspiring? Who inspires you? And then that leads to more names. And then that leads to more names. And every time we do a community project like this, even though we keep it under wraps, it gets out somehow. And then people come out of the woodworks and they're like, "Oh, how about this woman? Have you heard of that woman? Have you considered her?" So it's really amazing, particularly women supporting other women, coming out and recommending other women when there's nothing in it for themselves. So that's usually how it works. It's sort of organic, and it's also part of the engagement process of the project, where we're really engaging with the community this way.
So as you have these conversations and people are chosen, what's the response when you go to these lucky individuals, in this case, these lucky ladies who are chosen? What's the response, and how comfortable are they sharing their stories? Because it seems like a very vulnerable thing to do.
Absolutely, 100%. The response varies. Sometimes you get a little tear of joy. Sometimes you get a shock. People are really, as you said, they're very humbled and they can't believe it. Then also some of the unsung heroes, they're a little bit hesitant or maybe too humble to accept it right away. They need a little bit of convincing and explaining. And so far, nobody has turned us down. So it's usually, and we reassure them, it's a private conversation. And of course, they're revealing very intimate things about their lives, personal things, but we handle everything with discretion and we work with them together. So nothing gets revealed that the women, or, we also had a men's project, that the individuals don't want to share. So it's completely, they agree with it, they're proud of what they're sharing, and they often have a reason for sharing certain things, to inspire people, maybe to follow their example, or maybe to try something new, or maybe to overcome something challenging, things like that. So we work with them, when me as the writer, I specifically work with the subjects to make sure they are represented in the way that they feel comfortable, they feel appreciated. I mean, I'm their number one fan when I write this, and that's how I write these.
Well, I want to ask now, and I understand that this particular project was the project for the Fox Cities.
Yes.
Right? But you do other projects under the umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
And what are some of the other projects that you've done that you've illuminated others in other settings?
Yes, thank you for asking. So we have done other Illuminating Women projects in different communities, but also last year we did a men's project. I was sure it would work as well with men, and it did. But I wanted to do a men's project to also, with the women's project, what I really like about it as well, it really does a great job of showing the multidimensionality of women's lives. So you're not just this or that. You can be strong, but also care about your outfit. You can be intellectual, but also a homemaker. All of these things that are often, in our portrayals in the media, they're not really like that. You're boxed into a certain category. And I noticed the same for men. Like, you're either emotional or you're strong. You're focused on career or you're a family man. The similar sort of unhelpful stereotypes. And I thought it would be so great and such a service also for men and women and all our relationships, right? Because it's how it works, to show men from all kinds of angles. So for the men's project, Illuminating Whiskers, I collaborated with a different photographer, Christine Peck of Your Sparkle Studio. She photographed men and we focused on facial hair, which sounds very quirky, but it was a great way to tell a man's story through their whiskers.
Oh, yeah.
It was a fun little hook, but it really allowed us to be. So it wasn't me or the project telling this man's story and singing the praise. It was this man's beard, actually.
That's so interesting. And I will say, your facial hair is very personal,
Yes.
and for those of us who can grow any, sometimes it doesn't work to our advantage
Yes.
as a person who struggles a little bit on the facial hair growth end of life.
Yes, but just to so it did the same. So we told their stories. This was just our vehicle, the beard, or the mustache or whatever it was. And it was really wonderful. It was just as vulnerable. It was just as personal. It was just as impactful. And I feel it had the same positive impact on the subjects as it does for the women. So, yeah. And then we're also doing individual showcases. So, if someone has an individual that they want to honor, maybe for a special event, for a retirement or for a special anniversary, we do that as well. And then we also do these engagement projects for companies and organizations around the country. So that's it.
What made you start doing this? What made you start being this really intimate storyteller?
I feel like I've always enjoyed listening to people telling me their stories, especially women. I grew up with a lot of women, but also men. I mean, just listening to someone's insights, someone's experience, the lessons they have learned. And I've always felt like we never give enough attention to the individual. And we don't always ask or shine a light on people who are maybe do a lot of wonderful things, but do them quietly in the background. So the unsung hero is always something that has spoken to me. People who do the right thing when nobody's looking. And I had this idea to do a project like this for a long, long time, but what really pushed me into action was the recent times of polarization, where we're sort of really at each other's throats. We're not in community. We're divided, and that's been politically, but also the pandemic certainly made it worse. And I thought, if we could only see each other and connect with each other on a human level, we wouldn't fall prey to these things. We would truly appreciate each other. Appreciation is really the key for everything that Illuminating Project touches, because that's sort of our specialty. Appreciating an individual, appreciating a community, appreciating an organization, in all of that. And I thought, the first project, I thought if we could only know more about these amazing women, we would not be so quick to judge others. We would feel more connected to them. We would be in community again. And so it actually did all that. And I was so thrilled. So I found a photographer. I asked her if she would join. She was thrilled. Laura Schneider, we did the first project at the Thelma in Fond du Lac. It was a huge success. Everyone came, even people who never go to the art center. They came as well. So that's also wonderful, making people engage with new experiences. And I think it did all that. And, then the Great Resignation happened. So I realized this is applicable to all kinds of organizations and places and can be beneficial.
I feel all the positivity that can happen during storytelling. And storytelling to me is one of the best ways to build community, because I feel like it helps with us understanding each other. And there's something very universal about stories, right? To really understand someone that might be a little different than you, or even those that are the same, so you can understand legacy or heritage or anything like that. But during the creation of these and finding of the stories, is there anything that surprised you? Are there any misunderstandings or myths or anything that happens during this collection of these stories, or during your process of creating this event?
Do you mean in terms of my experience or the experience of the subjects?
I'll take whatever you share.
Okay. Well, I mean, from I think the subjects, they really enjoy the experience. It's like therapeutic. It's almost like a coaching session, and it feels good to take stock of your life. It's a good thing, because then you can acknowledge and celebrate what you have done, what you have achieved, and also realize where you still want to go. and pass on the things you know, so someone else doesn't have to start from scratch. You can inspire someone. At the end of the day, we all need to be inspired, but also we might not know it, but we're inspiring others maybe all the time and we don't realize it. So that's really amazing. And also generally, I would say about the women, I think what I have learned from interviewing so many women is that nobody is perfect. Nobody has it figured out completely. We all share in those same feelings. Everyone has insecurities sometimes. Everyone has greatness in them. Everyone has a lot of potential and can do amazing things no matter who they are and where they are, whether they have power or not, whether they are, someone with a high-powered career or whether they are a community volunteer. Everyone has and can impact lives around them and their own.
Facts. Such a good statement.
Well, thank you.
Okay. At this time, Juliane, could you please share a story with the Appleton Engaged listeners that will help them understand the importance of this event?
Yes, I would love to. I think I'm going to go with several themes. One of them is belonging. I'm an immigrant myself. So one of the things I love to always make sure including in any project is people with an immigrant background, because they're my people. No matter where they're from, they're my people. And I totally feel connected to them. And I want to show them that they are welcome in the community and they are appreciated in the community. But I also want to show the community how amazing these people are, what they all bring, how they enrich the community, how it's so much better with them in it, not just for their labor, but also for their different perspectives. So that is a thing that's always very important to me. And I think it always resonates very well. So both for the immigrants featured, but also for everyone reading these stories. You see people's eyes get misty, and it's just really, really wonderful. We had a few immigrant stories, certainly in the Fox Cities Illuminating Women. Then I also want to share the impact it has in terms of, you were talking about community engagement, community service. So many of the people we feature are dedicated to community volunteers. So one woman I recall specifically, she told me after the conversation, I'm so burned out with the things I'm doing, and I'm not sure if I'm going to continue. And she was involved in so many different community efforts. And then going through the Illuminating Project experience, having the interview, taking stock of her achievements and her contributions, of course, made her feel better about herself. But also she told me then later, much later, she said, Juliane, this really reinvigorated my zest and my dedication to my community. I knew I was on the right path and I knew I needed to do more. And, in the years following, she increased actually her engagement in the community. So, and I feel like it does that for many of the people featured, because we're shining a light on what they're doing well and where they're having impact and what is worth doing. And it makes them feel valued, but it also gives them energy to keep going and to do maybe more of it even. And then also my hope is that it will inspire someone who reads it and say, well, if she is doing that, maybe I should too.
That I can see. All of those things. That's really fantastic. For all the reasons to inspire our community to maybe to feel like they belong, maybe to give them energy to do more. And then you never know who might see themselves in those stories.
Exactly. There's a very famous quote that I always use. It's from Marian Wright Edelman, and she says, "You can't be who you can't see." And that is why we need the representation and the inclusion and the belonging. And we all want that sense of belonging. It's a basic human need. And we're all better when we do.
Oh, I can't stress that enough. I am such a huge advocate of representation. I don't think people always understand that when you don't see those that you can see yourself in doing something, it's hard to see yourself doing that thing.
Absolutely. 100%.
Are there any upcoming initiatives, events, or engagement opportunities?
There are always engagement opportunities. We're working on a few, but it's too early to announce. So I will keep people posted. You can follow us on the social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and also on LinkedIn. And then also Illuminating Project has a website, illuminatingproject.com, just one word. And if anything's to be announced, it will be there. And yeah, we would love to have people show up and support this idea and this concept.
Is there anything the community can do to be helpful?
Yes, always. If you know of someone who needs to be illuminated, or a community or an organization that could use some inspiration and community building and celebration, please let me know.
Well, that being said, then who can the people contact if they want to have some illuminating happening?
They can contact me. So it's Juliane at illuminatingproject.com or at illuminatingproject.com.
All right. Well, I have one more question for you, and that is this. Is there any additional information you feel is important to share with the Appleton Engaged listeners that maybe we didn't ask a question about?
Illuminating Women Fox Cities is also now, you can see it online. So we're running it right now on all our social media channels for those who missed it or people who want to read it again and look at the photos again and feel that sense of belonging and that celebration of the community continues. So please find Illuminating Project on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. There you'll find it.
Well, Juliana, it is that time, and that time is shout out time. Who would you like to shout out?
I'd like to thank all my team at the Illuminating Project. That's the photographers I work with, and then also my colleague Sarah, who is working behind the scenes. And I would also like to thank the wonderful Appleton community and the Fox Cities community specifically for showing up, for being so into our project, all the love, and also for the amazing women who participated and who trusted in us with their stories. I feel like I made 30 amazing new friends. And then, of course, the Trout Museum of Art for their support of it and for finding us and for bringing us here. And then, of course, also Kimberly Clark for sponsoring the show.
Well, Juliana, we want to say thank you to you. At this time, Appleton Engaged listeners, we're going to start wrapping up this episode. Appleton Engaged listeners, thank you for spending time with us, giving us your minds and ears, caring about another amazing resource in our community, helping to make this a better place. I really admire any opportunity we have to get to know our neighbors better in the community, and this is one of those projects that really makes that possible, which brings us together tighter as a community and also makes us who are in the community feel like we belong. We are a work in progress. We can always use some help. We can get better with your help. You know our goal. We are trying to become the #1 podcast in Northeast Wisconsin. So what can you do to help? Well, while you're listening to us, if you would like to be a guest, let us know. If you'd like to recommend a guest, let us know. If you have new questions that you would like us to ask the guests, let us know. You can reach out to us at diversity@appleton.org. Once again, that is diversity@appleton.org. Also, we think we have something very, very special here with the Appleton Engaged podcast, helping to connect us to be a more informed community. And the more informed a community is, the stronger it is. But we need your help so more eyes and ears in the community can learn about this amazing resource known as Appleton Engaged. So while you're listening to us right now, take a moment, press that subscribe button, give us a 5-star rating, or fill out a review. What these things do is they increase our analytics, and the better the analytics, the more eyes and ears are able to learn about this amazing resource known as Appleton Engaged, the podcast. I think this is such a fantastic resource. If you get a chance, if you see it advertised out there on social media, or you hear about it, and there's an opportunity for you to attend it. I heard so many fabulous things from both those who were celebrated as the Illuminating Women and those who got to attend and support these fantastic ladies within our community. Don't miss that opportunity. Be sure to be part of it. Be sure to celebrate those making an impact in our community. Until next time, stay thoughtful, stay curious, and stay engaged.